You're listening to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Challenge us at Wexford Insurances 0818 31 30 30.
I'm now joined in studio by Chris Parle of Tyre Savers. Good morning, Chris. You might start by telling me a bit about your own background and how you ended up in the tyre business.
My family has been involved in the tyre industry for 30 or 35 years. My father started as a tyre fitter many years ago, worked in the industry for a few years, wanted to set up his own business, and so he went to Germany, where tyres is much different and it's a huge industry over there, to learn about the industry. Spent a few years there, moved around the country, learned the trade before coming back home and setting up his own business in 1991. I was in school at the time. I got involved after school, summers, summer holidays, whatever. When I left school at 15 years of age, I went into it full time, and we pretty much built on the business from there. And a few years after that, in 2005, unfortunately, I lost my father to cancer, and with the help of my mother Anne, pushed forward with the business and have been doing that ever since.
Chris, the second-hand tyre sector is a new market that emerged here over the last couple of years. You say your own late father identified this as an opportunity. What was the success back then with it?
Yeah, well, our family were one of the first in the country actually to bring in second-hand tyres. I mean, it's only really rocketed in the last few years because of the recession, but we've been bringing them in since 1991, and I suppose they weren't as popular then as they are now, but still would have been probably 50% of our business. It's only in the local downturn in the last probably 3 or 4 years that they've really rocketed, and I suppose we'd be outselling new tyres 3-1 now with second-hand tyres.
There's probably never been a better time to sell second-hand tyres in this country due to the economic downturn, but I know that it's not all plain sailing. I know that the Tyre Industry Association are campaigning against second-hand tyres at the moment. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, they are. I mean, the Irish Tyre Industry Association are campaigning against the sale of second-hand tyres, but their argument is triggered by the new tyre industry. I mean, as you can imagine, because the second-hand tyre industry has rocketed, the sale of new tyres has completely decreased. So their campaign is not 100% credible. I mean, they're saying second-hand tyres are not safe. It depends where the tyres come from. If you know where you're getting them from, you're getting them from a reputable business who has experience in the industry and expertise, then tyres are 100% safe. If you're getting them from somebody who you don't know where they're coming from, perhaps they're coming from a breaker's yard or something like that, then they're not safe. So they do have a point in their argument, but for them to say that second-hand tyres are not safe is not completely credible.
But let's say, for instance, for the average driver out there today that would be listening to this show, how could they know if a retailer is credible enough or not to buy from? For instance, if a driver goes into a tyre depot today, how could they grade a particular tyre that they're interested in buying?
Where I go to Germany to buy the tyres, they grade them in 3 different grades. They're an A grade, a B grade and a C grade. We bring in nothing below 4 or 5 millimetres, which is a half-worn tyre, 50%. Some of the depots will be bringing them in below that. Some of them buy them from breakers' yards. So if you're looking at buying a second-hand tyre, you need to make sure that it's a premium brand. You need to make sure that the tread depth is at least 50%, and you need to just cast an eye over the tyres after the job is done and make sure that they're what they're supposed to be.
Are all of these tyres coming from Germany?
No, not all of them. No, there's Germany, Switzerland, Austria, France. What actually happens over there, Karl, is because of their adverse weather conditions, they have to change their tyres twice a year. In October, they must have winter tyres fitted, and in April, they must have summer tyres. And that's the law over there. I mean, it's a huge industry. So what actually happens there is the tyres are traded in after a season, sometimes a couple of seasons, and large companies buy the tyres off retail depots across the country, bring them back to a grading facility where they go through a series of checks, and that's where I fly to Germany, into these facilities, and handpick each and every one of these tyres myself before importing them back to Ireland.
Okay, the Tyre Industry Association are also campaigning the NCT centres across the country in respect of these second-hand tyres. What's their opinion in the NCT centres regarding them?
Well, Karl, when does a tyre become second-hand? I mean, the moment you leave a tyre garage, a tyre is second hand. So if you were to go to a tyre garage with a car and your tyres are half worn, they have no way of knowing if those were second hand tyres fitted on the car yesterday or whether the tyres were fitted 6 months ago and have just worn in the car. The Irish Tyre Industry Association and the NCT test, again triggered by the new tyre industry because of lack of sales, have brought in a 6-year rule in the NCT test centre where they will give you an advisory pass if a tyre is over 6 years of age. Basically, they're advising you to change the tyre if it's 6 years of age or older. I mean, this is completely ludicrous because in Germany, for instance, the country has some of the most sophisticated cars in the world. They have no speed limit, and the 6-year rule, it doesn't apply in Germany or any of those countries. It's not in the criteria of an NCT test. A tyre could be 15 years of age and still pass a test as long as it's in good condition. The majority of tyre problems comes from poor tyre maintenance, to be honest. I mean, if you were to ask how many people regularly check their tyre pressures, I'd say you'd have 10-20% maybe at the most. The majority of tyre problems come from underinflation. If your tyre is just 0.2 bar underinflated, I mean, that can have serious tyre effects and serious tyre hazards. Another problem with tyre wear is misalignment of vehicles and stuff like that. I mean, that's some of the main problems with tyres, and they should campaign to try and get people more tyre safe and tyre safety aware rather than campaign against second hand tyres.
Is it all winter tyres that are being imported from Western Europe?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We bring in both winter and summer grades. This time of year, coming into the weather, we do bring in more winter tyres. Hopefully, to try and make the roads a little bit safer for people. If we happen to get the snow that we did a couple of years ago, the winter tyres are a huge benefit in the winter towards a summer tyre. So no, to answer your question, it's not all winter tyres. It's summer and winter tyres that we bring in.
And are these hard-wearing tyres, like there's a myth out there that says that winter tyres in this country wear much faster than the normal tyres that we're used to?
Well, let me explain how that works. The way a winter tyre actually works is when it gets to below maybe 7 degrees, a normal tyre will harden and freeze and spin and therefore becomes dangerous on the roads. A winter tyre is made from a softer compound of rubber, which is why it works better at lower temperatures and has coarser tread pattern. It's better in frosty weather, it's better in rain, and it's better in snow. And they are made to run at lower temperatures, and they're far, far superior to summer tyres in those temperatures. When they wear quicker is in the summer weather. Because they're a softer compound of rubber, if it's a warmer temperatures, these tyres will wear out quicker, and that's why they have to change their tyres in these countries in April before the weather conditions and pick up again. Because if in warmer conditions, say 15, 16, 17 degrees, these tyres are softer compound rubber, they're going to wear out quicker. So that's basically how that works.
So on that basis, Chris, are you saying to Irish drivers to adopt the same policy that they're using in Western Europe, that they should have one set of tyres for winter and a different set for summer?
Well, it's absolutely no harm to have, that's for sure. Because of the weather change in the last few years, if it was to continue on that way, I would definitely say yes. I mean, drivers could purchase a second set of wheels, have a set of summer tyres and a set of winter tyres and change them as they need to. But yeah, definitely winter tyres are far, far superior in the winter to the summer tyres in these lower conditions. I mean, years ago when we didn't hardly get snow, I know we had a lot of rain, it didn't make an awful lot of difference, but in the frosty weather and icy roads, snowy conditions, it's definitely a huge advantage and keeps you and your family a lot more safer on the roads.
You mentioned that there's a tyre grading system that operates within Western Europe, A, B and C grades. Is there many of the C grade type tyre coming into Ireland at this moment in time, in your opinion?
Yes, I believe that there are C grade tyres coming into the country. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of rogue operators have opened up across the country. I mean, there's tyre depots opening all over the places. Now, there's nothing wrong with people starting up new business, but a lot of these people have no background in the tyre industry and have seen an opportunity to make money out of tyres because the second-hand tyre market is rocketing. So I do believe that they're cutting corners. I mean, there's cowboys in every business, and I do believe that some of them are cutting corners and bringing in C-grade tyres. So I think it's possible that there are some coming in, yeah.
And from a safety perspective, what are the risks of people out there purchasing C-grade tyres?
Well, with C-grade tyres, I mean, the tread depth is lower, and they might not necessarily be coming from Germany either. I mean, these tyres could be coming from breakers' yards where they're involved in accidents and stuff like that. But the C-grade tyres are lower profile, may not be the same premium brands as the stuff that we would bring in, and because they're lower quality and they change them seasonally, they're not on the cars longer. They are older. I mean, the tyres could be up to 20 years of age.
Chris, how important is it for cars to have all 4 tyres with a matching pattern?
It's not actually an offence to have four odd tyres in your car. I mean, as long as you have 4 tyres that are radials and the same size, they'll pass the law and they'll pass an NCT. However, it is important to have your tyres matching for performance reasons, be it all 4 the same or at least 2 the same on the front and 2 the same on the back. That is important. If you don't have 4 matching tyres in your car, they could lead to performance issues.
Now, we're all familiar with the concept of remould tyres. How do they compete against second-hand tyres in today's market?
Well, the second-hand tyres that we have in today's market, depending on whether they're A, B or C grade, I mean, I'm just saying, for instance, a B grade tyre, which is 5mm or 50% tyre, compared to a remould, there'd be no comparison. Our second-hand B-grade tyres would actually wear out a cheap budget brand tyre, and a remould tyre would just have no comparison whatsoever to that. To be honest, remoulds have been phased out over the last 10 or 15 years. They were hugely popular one time, and it's just down to safety reasons, really, to be honest with you.
Chris, you've done a lot of work to develop the business over the last number of years. Tell me a bit about that.
We have, yeah. I mean, the tyre industry was going really, really well, and we were really busy all the time in our outlet depot, and I decided to branch out, and I opened a second and third tyre garage under the name Tyre Savers in partnership with PJ Mooney, who's also a local businessman in Barntown, and we've been pushing forward with that, selling tyres to the car, commercial and agricultural industries.
How successful has that been since you opened those 2 new branches?
Really has been quite successful, actually, yeah. I mean, the second-hand tyre industry is thriving at the moment, and it's not just second-hand tyres that we do. I mean, we give the customer the option. We have the full range of new tyres in stock as well, so we're not tying people to second-hand tyres, but the seconds are really, really going well, and the business has been building month on month, year on year, and it's really picking up for us, yeah.
What are the challenges facing you today?
The challenges are the amount of competitors that are jumping up all around the place, to be honest with you. I mean, when we went into Barntown, for instance, there was nobody at all in Wexford Town selling second-hand tyres, since there's 3 or 4 different competitors after opening up. So a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon there to see an opportunity to make money. The other challenges are the likes of the campaign the Irish Tyre Industry Association are running in conjunction with the NCT centres. It raises a lot of questions for people, and people are a little bit cautious about second-hand tyres, which is something that I kind of want to put to bed here today, and try and just put people's mind at ease that if they buy tyres, second-hand or new, from a reputable business who has experience in the industry, that there's absolutely no problem with buying second-hand tyres, and they can rest assured that they're getting quality and assurance, and that everything is 100% above board.
One thing that I've seen come up in the Industry Association campaign as well is in relation to insurance. Tell me how that works.
Well, look, we're 100% insured in all our depots for defective workmanship, for public liability, for all that sort of thing. But as regards insurance, your car is 100% insured, whether it be second-hand or new tyres. As I said before, when does a second-hand tyre become second-hand? The minute you leave the door. So there's no issue with insurance on tyres, be it second-hand or new, if they're purchased from the right place and they're fitted by properly trained tyre fitters.
Now, the insurance companies don't have any stipulation within their own motor policies that the tyre can't be over a certain age.
No, absolutely not. That's not in the criteria in any other country, rather, not in Ireland either, for that fact. That's not in the criteria of any of the insurance policies, nor is it in any NCT or MOT centre in any other country other than Ireland.
To move on to a more general question for a second, Chris, what advice would you give to motorists out there today, coming into the winter, into the cold weather conditions in relation to tyre safety?
Well, it's very, very important that you regularly check your tyres, and the reason is the tyres are the only thing between you and the road, and it's essential that you check the pressure regularly, check the tread depth regularly, and I don't just mean put your hand in and you feel a bit of grip, yeah, that's okay. A lot of people do that and they don't look at the inside of the tyre, so you have to lock your steering wheel out or get down under the back of the car, have a look at the inside, because in a lot of cases, if the car's out of alignment, the tyre could be worn the inside or outside, and you mightn't be able to see that. So it's essential that you take yourself to an established tyre garage, ask them to check your tyres, check your pressure regularly, and don't be afraid to do that, because it's very, very important.
Now, when it comes to tracking and balancing, Chris, how important is it to do both of those regularly?
Well, balancing, you'll know if balancing is out in your car really. You'll get a slight shudder or a vibration in your steering wheel, and if you do so, it's one of two things. It's a warp in the tyre, that could be from striking a pothole and it fractures some of the steel in the tyre, or it's balancing. So if you feel a vibration in your steering wheel, you need to get your wheels balanced. As regards alignment, this is essential to the life of the tyre really, because there's so many potholes in Irish roads, or even to hit a curb you can knock the tracking out in a second, and if your alignment is out, your tyre is going to wear twice as quick as if you were to have it in track, and it's essential to check that regularly. You'll also notice if your steering wheel is pulling to the left or to the right, or if there's improper tyre wear on your tyres, that your alignment is out, so it is important to have a check.
Chris, going back to the second-hand tyre market for a second, the sector itself has been growing for the last 3 or 4 years in Ireland. Do you think that's purely because of the recession, or do you think there's actually longevity in it? So, for instance, in 4 or 5 years' time, when we're out of this economic crisis, that the business will continue to be as successful then?
Well, there's no doubt that the reason that the second-hand tyre industry has grown is because of the recession. I mean, a few years ago, people didn't even think about second-hand tyres. They just had so much money. They were like, okay, throw them on or whatever. Didn't think about it. But do I think it's going to last? It's hard to know. I mean, they are great value. If you're buying a second-hand tyre for 25 and it's a premium brand, and you buy a new tyre in the same make for 50 in a budget brand, that second-hand tyre is going to go just as well as the new tyre. So they are good value. But do I think it's going to last? I don't know. That remains to be seen. But they certainly are good value.
And what are your plans for building the business? You've started with one branch out in Owlert. You now have 3 bases across County Wexford. What's the future for Tyre Savers?
Well, obviously we want to keep building. I mean, it's a great opportunity for us. The thing is booming. We have a lot of customers built up over the years. We have expertise in the business. We know a lot about it. We have the contacts. So we're going to try and strive to build on the business again, and maybe open a couple more depots. We also supply the wholesale market right across the country as well, and that's going really good. So it remains to be seen. But if there's an opportunity comes up and we see somewhere that it could work, then yeah, absolutely, we'll open another shop or 2 or 3 or whatever it is.
How many other tyre depots are you supplying through the wholesale side of the business, and how has that developed?
Well, that's all the way, going back all the way to my father's time again. I mean, he started bringing in the tyres years ago, even before they rocketed, and he's been selling to the trade ever since. But again, it's in the last few years that they've really developed. We supply quite a number of retail depots across the country, and regularly as well, and it's been building up, I suppose, over the last 2 or 3 years, the same as the retail industry.
Chris, an awful lot of what we spoke about this morning has to do with cars. You know, in relation to the regulations in Western Europe, do they also apply to buses and trucks and everything else over there? And if so, is there an opportunity there for you to import tyres for those vehicles, and do you?
Well, absolutely. I mean, in those countries, they change their tyres on buses, trucks, cars, all vehicles. And is there an opportunity to import them? It's much, much harder to get those tyres second-hand than the car tyres. However, we do import second-hand truck tyres, and they are available to us as well, yeah.
Why are they so much harder to get?
The reason they're so much harder to get is, I guess, they cost so much more to buy new, that instead of trading these tyres in, they just keep them and use them year on year.
Is there grants available in Western Europe for people to change their tyres from summer to winter and vice versa?
There's government subsidies so people can afford to do that. However, they have been cut in the last few years, and there's talks it'll be gone altogether within the next few years.
So what potential damage can that do to your business?
That's hard to know, but they're going to have to keep changing their tyres because of their adverse weather conditions. I mean, they could have snow for 3-4 months of the year over there, and it's low over there as well. So they're going to still have to change their tyres. Whether or not they'll trade them in the same as they have been doing, that remains to be seen.
Well, Chris, it's been a very informative interview. I'd like to thank you for coming in and speaking to our listeners this morning, and I wish you continued success with Tyre Savers.
You're listening to South East Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Think Wexford Insurances for your business insurance.